死なないために死ぬほど準備することなんて絵に姫やらたことでしょう。光栄だけど買いかぶりっすよ。
Hello guys, it's me Simo Orahara, and in this video we will talk about one of Kobo's answers to an important topic in Bleach. It is true that this answer is somewhat old, but because of its importance, I decided to talk about it in this video. So one of the fans asked Kobo if Tosen is able to use holification as well as the resurrection mode. Are Ichigo and the Vizards able to do that too? Kobo replied, this is possible. First of all, it's good that we got a confirmation from Kobo, but the question itself contains several important ideas that we must analyze in order to understand Kobo's answer. So this fan started from an example that we all know, which is Kaname Tosen. Tosen, who is a Shinigami, was given hollow powers by Aizen Sasuke, and he was the one who chose to get this power, unlike the Vizard or Ichigo, who was born with such power because his mother was bitten by the Hollow White. But in the end, these three categories connect them one common point, which is they can use the hollow powers through holification. Like Tosen, who was able to use some of this power of the hollow, such as using the mask. And this is the point that he shares with the rest of the other parties. I mean, we saw the Vizard being the first ones in the story to use the hollow mask, and they trained Ichigo on how to use it. After that, Ichigo used the mask and used it in the Bankai mode. Unlike the Vizard, we didn't see a single one of the Vizard had used the mask in the Bankai mode. So part of this question was about the possibility of the Vizard using the mask in the Bankai mode, and Kobo replied this is possible. And this raises another question. Why didn't we see the Vizard, especially the captains like Rose, Gensei and Hiraku, using masks in their fight against the Quincy? Some may say that perhaps Century Rome 46 prevented them from that or something like that, and I think this is not true because we already saw Machiro using the mask. And even if that was true, I mean the Century Room prevented them from using the hollow power, this is nonsense, because the attack of the Quincy was brutal and Shinigami were fighting without the possibility of using the Bankai. So any other power that can help them to win must be possible to use in front of Yhwach and his army. And Kyoraku understood this very well when he went by himself to get Aizen Sasuke out of the Muken, who a few months ago were their biggest enemy. Therefore, the fact that the captains of the Vizard did not use the mask remains a big question mark. More than that, Kobo tells you that the Vizard and Ichigo can even release their resurrection like Tosen did. And as long as Kobo confirmed this makes me a little bit disappointed. Why we didn't see the Vizard using resurrection? Because in the final arc there was a golden chance to see the resurrection of some of them. Why? We all know that the Arankara's resurrection is their soul power that contains the full potential of their abilities as hollow, and this power is sealed inside their sword when they take their human form. Orahara has said that the resurrection of the Arankara, it can be said, is the opposite of the Shinigami's Bankai. They both use the full power of their souls. And so when the first invasion of the Quincy started, the Shinigami knew that the Quincy can steal their Bankai. Meanwhile, Orahara Kisuke was in the Wikomondo and he knew about this dilemma. So he started his research to know why the Quincy can steal the Bankai. And during his research, he discovered an important thing. If the Quincy can steal the Bankai of the Shinigami, then why wouldn't they steal the resurrection of the Arankara? The Quincy, before they invaded the Soul Society, they had already invaded the Wikomondo and they had to fight them. However, they couldn't steal their resurrection. We saw Halle Berry defeated in her resurrection mode, and Yhwach is the one who defeated her. And based on this data, Orahara discovered that the Quincy cannot steal the resurrection of the Arankara because it makes them cut all their true hollow powers. And since the hollow is a poison for the Quincy, then the Quincy can't steal something that can affect their bodies. In other words, if the captains of the Vizard used the resurrection instead of the Bankai, they could have a chance against the Quincy in the first invasion, because the Quincy at that time wouldn't be able to steal their resurrection. Or maybe the Vizard don't know how to release a resurrection. But again, they had a century of time in which they could learn to know how. which will give them a strong additional power, besides fighting with Bankai and Mask. And this leads us to talk about Ichigo. As long as Kobo confirmed that he too is able to release the Resurrection, in what form could it be and how would he do that? So, in order to try to answer this question, let's go back to Tosen, who is the only example who released a Resurrection despite being a Shinigami. If you have noticed, the name of Tosen Zanpakuto is Suzumushi, which means Billbug, so that the name of the Zanpakuto includes the name bug, which is one of the types of insects. And if you have noticed the release of his Resurrection, it is as if he embodies the name of the Zanpakuto, so that the shape of Tosen became in the form of an insect. And so the most important thing is that his shape changed completely, and he had a hole of hollows on his chest. Thus, he obtained various capabilities of the hollows, among them, for example, high-speed regeneration. And therefore, if we go back to Ichigo, there is a mode of Ichigo in which some of these characteristics are fulfilled. I mean here, the mode called Vaster Lord. Couldn't this be what we saw in front of Yukura is a kind of Ichigo's Resurrection mode? It is true that the main source of this mode was the great Shinigami Ryatsu that was liberated by the Osan Zangetsu in order to save Ichigo. But the Osan Zangetsu said that the Hollow was the one who saved Ichigo's life, and the Asauchi of Ichigo was basically a hollow creature combined with some of the souls of the Shinigami, and this made him in this form. And so if you look deeply, you will see that Ichigo in this mode used all the advantages of the Hollow's powers to the fullest extent possible. First of all, Ichigo's form has completely changed, like Tosen, and this is one of the characteristics of the resurrection of all the Arankara. And the hollow of the power appeared in his chest. And he also used all the features of Hollow, Sonido, Zero, and also high-speed regeneration. And therefore, this mode that we saw in front of Likura may be the mode that Ichigo would be in if he knew how to use the resurrection, so that he would become completely dependent on the power of the Hollow that are found in his Zanpakuto, while using the monstrous power of his Shinigami Ryatsu. And so I'm wondering if we can see this in the future. I mean, we see resurrection of the Vizard in Ichigo. Kobo has a chance now to play this card in the Hell arc if he continues this arc. But overall, these informations show you that the Vizards were wasted characters. They had so much to show. They have Bankai, they have Hollow powers, and they can release Resurrection if they want to. But Kobo neglected them in a strange way. So what I'm hoping for to see now is the fights of some captains of the Vizards. Proper fights for Hiraku, where we can see his Bankai, and also the fight of Rose against Nanana that was behind the screen. Anyway guys, what do you think? Give me your opinions and see you guys in my next video.